Good evening. My name is Ashton Williams, and along with my pack, Holly and Christian, we will be arguing in negation of the resolution that Bella and Edward are a better match than Bella and Jacob in the movie series Twilight. In this introduction, we will reveal the intent of our argument through our three main points. Our first point is that Edward was a 104-year-old vampire who grew up in a completely different environment and era, with completely different economic backgrounds and morals compared to Bella. While Jacob is Bella's similar age and has a similar economic background, and doesn't force Bella to change moral standings for him. Edward's age and time on Earth should have implied a level of maturity and flexibility and understanding that's not normally held by most teenagers such as Bella. He should have known that forcing a person to accommodate one's own morals and beliefs is never a good idea, and forcing a person to conform to one's own standards is immature. However, this is not the case. Coupled with the power asymmetries in place of Edward having more wealth than Bella and using this as a form of power over her, Edward is an incompatible match for Bella and forces her to change to better shape him. Whereas Jacob never needed Bella to change or to compromise her beliefs or personality to fit him better. Jacob's similar age, time frame, and economic background therefore make him a more suitable match for Bella. Our second point is that the attractive forces that held Edward and Bella together don't compare to the forces and foundation that developed Jacob and Bella's friendship. Edward was initially attracted and drawn to Bella because of the potency of her blood, meaning the foundation of their relationship was built on the premise of Edward wanting to murder her, elevating the meaning of looking like a straight-up snack. On the other hand, Bella was initially attracted to Edward because of his looks and her sexual attraction she felt towards him, which remained a continued theme throughout the series and was integral to the relationship. This ultimately proves that their relationship was nothing more than a childish, hormonally driven tryst that resulted in an inappropriate marriage based completely on sexual desire. However, Jacob and Bella's relationship was predicated first on friendship, meaning any relationship between the two would have been more reliable, more appropriate, and longer lasting. Making Jacob Bella's better match. Our third point and final is that Edward treated Bella like a child and disrespected her wishes, ultimately leaving her as being viewed as unequal, where Jacob allowed Bella to make her own choices. Throughout this series, Edward continually demonstrated he did not view Bella as capable of making informed and smart choices of her own life. In the same note, he berated her repeatedly as though she were a child and never allowed her full control over her own decisions. When he did so, he did begrudgingly and insultingly. Jacob, however, respected Bella enough to never hide any choices or decisions or actions regarding her own life and allowed her to make her own choices, even if that meant she chose Edward in the end. This proves that Jacob is a better match for Bella because he consistently treated Bella with respect and as an equal. In conclusion, we believe that Edward is not a better match for Bella and that Jacob and Bella are better suited couples because Edward and Bella do not share similar economic backgrounds or morals, and that Bella and Edward's attractive forces were inappropriate for a healthy and long-lasting relationship. Finally, Edward, he constantly treated Bella with disrespect. He never allowed her to effectuate her wishes and treated her as a wayward child, while Jacob never did any of these things. Therefore, it's clear you should vote negation of this issue. Thank you.
Everybody hear me? Cool, all right. So good evening, everyone. My name is Jeffrey Tassinelli, and I, along with my partners, Christina and Lena, we will be arguing in affirmation of our resolution. Bella and Edward are a better match than Edward and Jacob in the movie series Twilight. And so just to resume quickly our definitions that we went over at the top of the hour, I'd like to. All right, so in the context of this debate, we'll define better as having a more compatible lifestyle and interests. We will also define a match as a group of two or more persons that are closely associated in romantic sense. And so, again, please keep in mind that the debaters here tonight might not be arguing the point they actually believe in, and please keep your masks above your nose and mouth, please. All right, so at the time of the opening in November 2008, the movie Twilight was widely panned by critics, a notable instance being the New York Times calling Robert Pattinson's Edward portrayal the lore, and strangely recalling a very 2008 sentence, the obsessive Jonas Brothers disorder. The film was produced on a shoestring budget of around $37-ish million and spent years languishing in development before finally producing a very, very different narrative than the 2005 novel on which it's based. So given this progress, it seemed likely to be a quiet release that quietly fades away, but instead becomes an absolute cultural phenomenon. It made $407 million at the box office and then spawned online communities that to this day still scare the hell out of me as much as they did in middle school. The film has become a cultural touchstone almost 15 years after that theatrical release, and pretty much the film that everyone our age has seen and has an opinion about. And so, as we all know, these films all swirl around our wickedly awkward protagonist, Kristen Stewart's Bella, and the love triangle made of Edward, the vampire, and Jacob, the werewolf. And so, we're all here tonight to decide who's worthy of Bella's cleaning hands, you know. And so that brings me to the point that I find important tonight. We propose that Edward is a better match for Bella given the fact that they share similar morals. He's unique amongst the other characters in the film, and the fact that they share a profound romantic connection. And so moving into our first claim, Bella and Edward represent a better match, as given evidence by the fact that their behaviors and preferences are much more closely aligned. While there's something to be said for the phenomenon that opposites attract, that really doesn't seem to belong in the film. Bella makes it known early on in the film that she's not big on the company of others, preferring to keep her own company or just be by herself instead of longing out the nearest window until something passes by. Her circle is small, just Jessica and Angela and her estranged father. She knows whose company she enjoys, and Edward's much the same. His world centers around his family and little else, given that he is also known to sit alone in the woods for hours at a time. And this being something they can both share means that the two have much more to connect over, since they can understand each other from that perspective of enjoying their own company, being able to be by themselves. Whereas in contrast, Jacob is much more an extrovert, constantly socializing, which is not only markedly different from Bella's idea of the time, it also could cause resentment later down the line if he doesn't get the space she needs. If one member of the couple is always pushing to interact with others in spite of the other's misgivings, it causes rift between the two. And for the introvert Bella, in this case, it on a subliminal level will signal that her needs are less important than those of her extroverted partner. Hence, they can look at each other. In contrast, Edward and Bella, because being both introverts and generally awkward planning, can look at each other based on their shared desire for solitude, and thus more so on the same wavelength when it comes to social interactions and the world at large. And so going into our next point, Bella and Edward again make a better couple than Bella and Jacob because of depth of feeling they have for each other. They face a huge number of obstacles to their being together throughout the course of the movie. Bella's father is incredibly distrustful of Edward. Jessica quietly burns with rage at their being together. Carlisle repeatedly tells Edward he has no self-control, and everyone in town thinks they're rather a bizarre match. And let's also remember the fact that at one point the other vampires in the region were actually trying to turn Bella at one point or another, which was definitely not making it easier for her and Edward to be together. Despite all these obstacles, Bella and Edward persist and continue to stay the course based on the enormous connection they share. At one point, Edward does go so far as to literally kill other vampires in an effort to save Bella from being turned and becoming a vampire herself. In contrast, we see nothing of the sort of that magnitude in the relationship with Jacob, which seems to be based on little more than convenience of having mutual connections and family ties. Never in the first movie does Bella actually choose to seek out Jacob over Edward, except in the situation where they go to the beach together. But at that point, it's more just a tool to get to know more about Edward without approaching him directly. And so in our final time, I'd like to explore another aspect of why Bella and Edward are better match when compared to the werewolf next door, for those keeping it score at home, that's Jacob. The fundamental reason that Mr. Sparkles and Bella get along is simply Edward's rather, let's say, quirky character. In case anyone's forgotten, he's a 100-something-year-old vampire who was recently suffering from Spanish flu and was changed by Carlisle and did save his life. Therefore, like I said, he's a little different. His music taste is incredibly varied, as one would expect of a 100-year-old vampire or 100-year-old 17-year-old. I'm not a 70-year-old, I'm not great at that, so. And he takes Bella by surprise, and we see this most notably when he's in the car with Bella and he's listening to a Lucy CD. And going off that, he studies languages, science, music, and whatever else he really seems to want to set his mind to. Embodying this idea of learning across the lifespan and becoming a piano virtuoso before he's originally changed and kept at 17, yes. And so this is one aspect of what sets him apart from others. He's continually trying to learn more about the world around him, and this development is so fascinating. He marches to the beat of his own drum through his lifelong pursuit of learning and does whatever he wants, regardless of how others might perceive that around him. Jacob, however, different story. he just kind of like lollygags around and follows whatever else his trap is encouraging him to take part in. Rolling around in a pile of mud as a werewolf. I'm a cat, I don't really know what dogs do. Wearing that raggedy shake and go wig we see during the first film. Or that collection of flannels that's probably older than some of our professors here at UF. So in summation, we see that clangy hands and sparkles make a better match than her and the werewolf because Bella, being a little snowflake that she is, doesn't want to settle for someone who's like everyone else. She wants someone who's weirdo, someone who doesn't fit in, and someone who doesn't want to fit in. So clearly that's Edward, right? As he got that strange sense of music taste that keeps sharp eye running whatever he is hands on. Versus the werewolf, who again in sharp contrast follows to a T the rather mundane norms that York has established for him. And so with that, I urge you to vote in favor of the application.